Can we start the meeting right now?
Yeah. So I can start with the couple of things I had to discuss.
Yeah, sure.
Um, the first one was so I see Marek is not on the call, but I think I wanted to check. He suggested adding a fail point check for the this one, the fix that I was sent out earlier for applying partial transaction. Uh, I'll just put a link in the chat so anyone
Yeah.
who's not familiar. So yeah, I think I feel free to, by the way, redirect me to the robustness test meeting for this question as well. So I got a bit familiar with how to add these fail points. What I was trying to understand is like what sort of a test will actually help here, because the unit test added here is already checking the fact that you panic on on an error. Let's say if there's partial right application, you panic on that, and then you basically, yeah, it's the comment. I think Benjamin, you mentioned this too. Um, so one way is like, for example, let's say if we induce a fail point in between two operations of a transaction, let's say two writes, uh, and we trigger that either a delay or a failure. Uh, what, how do you suggest modeling a test? I think would it end up doing the same thing as the unit test, as that you basically that check that the process panicked, or do we want to um, check something more? I guess that was one of the questions.
Yeah, my understanding, we are just trying to, the PR just fix a potential risk. There's no people raise the real issue right so far. So the motivation is to try to reproduce the issue.
Yeah.
Using the fair point.
Yeah. So the unit test was able to already reproduce the issue.
Unit, I
Because
don't. Yeah. Unit test is okay, but I don't think unit test is enough to do such issue. I
yeah.
think we should at least E2E or integration test. But robust test, the point of robust test is readiness. So it probably isn't it hard for the robust test to reproduce this issue.
Mm.
But it's okay.
Okay.
But you can add whatever fair points into robustness test. It's okay. But if you want to reproduce this issue, an E2E or integrated test is the best fit for this case. Is my understanding.
Okay. So the task would just go beyond just adding a fail point and triggering it, but we would want like an E2E test which actually uh, triggers this and validates something. Maybe like the peers don't serve different data.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can discuss the detail offline if you
Okay.
like.
Sounds good. Yep. I'll actually maybe start a thread in the channel. The other one, real quick, won't take too much time. So for this other, we had discussion about this PR. I'll also paste the link here. And I agree, I think, with what you folks said about like whether we should handle, uh, whether we should try to handle like this read-only write transactions up gracefully. I think the couple follow-ups I wanted to take your opinion if it's worth following up on is so what happens today is for these read-only write transactions, you're actually working under a write lock for when applying this, right? And but for regular read-only requests, they're happening async, right, through this concurrent read transaction. So writes will continue to happen during that time. So if do we want to sorry, did I paste it? Uh,
You want to show the specific
yeah, I think
comment,
18803.
right?
Yeah, I think I pasted a link. This is for pull request 18803.
Oh,
Um, so yeah, I think the idea I wanted to discuss is like,
here.
yes, like potentially can we improve performance here? For instance, because we know based on the comparison path that like the transaction is going to be read only. If we end up just continuing to use concurrent read transaction and do it, let's say async, we can let the subsequent write requests go through. Do you think this is something which is, what I think is for compare and swap operations, for example, in this high write contention, and some keys, let's say there's one write and all the others are just going to the read-only failure path of the transaction that end up being read-only. If we do them async, we will not have to block subsequent writes in the apply path, just the way we treat read-only, regular read-only transactions. This might be an avenue that can like maybe get more write throughput in such cases. Like,
Yeah.
any opinions there? Or
Yeah, I think America and me also add comment in this PR.
right, yeah. So we discussed that part fairly. We discussed the other thing. I think that part was actually missed out, which is like the performance side of things. Do we think like optimizing this is something I
Yeah,
can
you
run
know,
a benchmark, for example, by this and see if like it.
Yeah, for the apply workflow is the most critical part of the etcd server. So for any change for the apply workflow in the etcd server should be super careful review. If you have any thoughts on the improvements, please do some POC and do some read-write heat map.
Yeah,
Do some performance test.
Yes, I was going to do that. I think I wanted to kind of like a thumbs up from you that it probably makes sense to explore this. Yes, for sure. I'll need to prove this through a benchmark.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Cool. That is all. I think we can move on to the next one.
Thank you, Shayan. Evan.
Hi, so mine should be very quick. As I was working in like in improving the release script, I realized that play.etcd.io is down.
So it's not down for me. It's working
It's-
for me,
It's showing a loading message.
not for me.
Oh, not
So this
anymore.
appears to be browser specific. Yeah.
I tried
Mhm.
different browsers, operating systems, and it was always stuck with that message loading.
Wow.
Wild.
doesn't
Okay, hold
work.
on. Let me pop up in some other
Yeah,
browsers and see if I can
that's
figure it
for
out.
me too.
It
So-
doesn't work for me.
Yeah, and then there's an issue in the etcd labs repository, but nobody picked it up. So I just wanted to raise the awareness like this seemed to be happening.
Yeah, it looks like it's not working on any of the Chrome-based browsers and only in Firefox.
Yeah, I have
Oh.
Firefox and I try
It's working for
Firefox.
me in Firefox. I can even do the whole node animation thing.
Okay.
So
Yeah, not on Safari either.
Yeah, so I tried Linux and Mac. I didn't try Windows, but I tried Chrome and Firefox.
yeah.
And I don't know.
Yep.
I guess, do we care?
We should care.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
mean probably. I
yeah.
don't think that anybody who worked on this is still around though. So we're gonna have to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nobody maintain this.
It would,
Right.
since currently nobody have the expertise, I think it can be considered a good project for anyone who is interested in start contributing. We're all, the same level of understanding it. Maybe. Let's see.
But has it always been HTTP, not HTTPS?
So I think HTTPS is broken. Someone mentioned it long time ago.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that might actually be it. Yeah, because when I'm getting it to work in Firefox, it says HTTP.
Huh.
So my guess is that the other browsers are enforcing HTTPS, which is not working.
Or it
Ah,
may be some setting in Firefox, because for me, it doesn't work. And again, I'm testing Firefox with
Yeah, well, I may have actually-
HTTP explicit.
Yeah, I may have actually done some things to make HTTP sites work in
Uh-huh.
configuring the settings. mostly for testing reasons, right? Because I'll test an app locally with no certificate, right? Because I don't want to generate an SSL certificate just for something that's running in kind. So yeah. Yeah, so I think you're probably right that it is HTTPS related somehow. But we'll have to figure it out.
Maybe we support HTTPS support, then it will fix itself. Is there, so
Yep.
I think maybe, so do you know, like, does anybody know if it has like Google Analytics or something, that so if we can see if people are actually visiting the site? So I think that may be like something good, because I mean, seems to be not working for many people, but not many people have complained. There's just one
Yeah.
person that complained.
Well, why don't we throw this up as a help wanted issue? Because, you
Sure.
know, some, you know, beginning web person can probably figure this out relatively quickly, and it would be
Yeah.
a great contribution for them. And sounds like we don't have any time pressure on it, right? So
But would they need like an admin access to the this domain? If you want to like refresh the search and whatnot? Like, how would they, if the search was an issue, how would he refresh it? I don't know. I'm not a web person, so I'm only like asking questions at this
well,
point.
yeah, I guess one of the questions is, where is this running in the first place?
Exactly. And you know, I don't know who's the admin for this page.
Yeah, it looks like, by the way,
Benjamin James, but I don't know.
looks like this app has never had HTTPS support, by the way.
Mm-hmm. But adding HTTPS support with Let's Encrypt, like not owning the
Easy,
domain, but being able to deploy to that place, that route, subdomain should be easy. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of unknowns, and so yeah, my point is maybe if it's not used enough, my note before, like, do we care, was more like, is it even worth maybe bringing it alive, or like resuscitating it, or is it maybe a good time to stop having play.etcd if there is not a lot of traffic going to that site?
It's raised 3 weeks ago. Let's just add a help on it and then let it sit for a while and see if there are a lot of people asking for it.
Okay, I agree.
Thank you. All right, Benjamin.
Okay. Yeah, this is, you know, the AskDid PR is super simple. I added an experimental API. You know, LCD can be used as the distributed log. Distributed log is very important use case from the user's perspective. You know, we have Zoomkeeper. Zoomkeeper is a very candidate for the distributed log. LCD is another good candidate for distributed log. But we have a demo for how to use LCD as a distributed log. But the demo had an issue. And we also don't have enough API to support the distributed log. You know, the background is, can you open the description? The article by the Martin, yeah, that's the, if you want to understand the API, you need to read this article. Basically, you know, the LCD supports the multi-version concurrent control. So the reversion are always increasing, incremental, can never be decreased. This is the basic to support distributed log. So when multiple clients request log on the same resource, one of the client will get the minimum revision, then the client get the log. It's the same logic as the Zoomkeeper. But the problem is, the client maybe once the client get the log, if the client is get stuck for whatever reason, for example, the garbage connection to stop the vault, whatever reason, when the clients recover from the stop the vault event, continue to whatever operation on the resource. Probably the lease has already expired. So other client already get the lock. So eventually lead to the conflict. So anyway, I just added the experiment API. It won't break any existing API, so it should be safe. I also marked it as an experimental, which means probably if we have some new good thoughts, we can improve this API. We don't worry about the break and change because it's experimental. Yeah, anyway, please take a look. Please reach out if anyone had any comments.
All right, thank you.
Is there a quick question there, Benjamin? Is there a way to model this into operations you do under a lock, like say transaction on a condition that the lock revision is still the same as when you acquired it, or like maybe some sort of a generation for the lock which increments each time someone acquires it, and you do it. You're only guaranteed to be safe when you have this.
Yeah, guaranteed safe. Yeah, in the distributed environment, in distributed environment, there are three parties. The first is log service, is etcd cluster. The second is the resource, the shared resource, which all the client want to operate. The third one is the client. So there are three parties in this environment. Actually, from the client perspective, the client operates the resource, shared resource, but the etcd server running as the locking service. Actually, etcd server, the locking service have no any control of the application, have no any control of the shared resource. So it's very hard for.
Okay, so there's like two different stores. The lock is a different store, and the actual data that's being protected by this lock is in a different store. So you cannot do a transaction.
Yeah, that's totally different.
Interesting.
From the etcd perspective, etcd can only guarantee each time only one client can get the lock. This is only etcd can guarantee it. But from the client perspective, if the client get the lock, but if the client get locked, then the lock will be automatically released because the lease expired. But the client we continue to operate the shared resource. There's no control on the client. But when the client when the lease expired, the other client can get the lock. But the old client can also operate the shared resource. There's no any etcd server has no any control on the client. This is a problem.
Interesting. So actually internally within Amazon, for some of the distributed lock services that we build, we often use the DynamoDB as like one of the locking service. So when this happens, what the client typically, one way we handle this is like every time when you actually make a change to another resource, before that you check the lease and you check that there is enough window. So you only use the lock till like expiry minus some small window, so that if someone is stealing it, is about to steal it, you will at least make one additional check to be sure that like it works reasonably well. For some of the use cases, but I think it's still on the client. Yes, there's not something the lock service can do there.
Yeah. If you have any bad thought improvement on the distributed lock, please raise comments. We can also discuss offline.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, thanks.
So I work with mainly Kubernetes, and one of the things that Kubernetes does is have this concept of controller, and the controller actually does try to acquire a resource or acquire a lock for a resource, and that has been implemented through config maps. It's yet another resource. So if the resource is untampered with for a specific resource version, we declare that as a lock. So we basically use a resource as a lock as well. So, you know, make sure that the resource version hasn't been changed. Now, what we're proposing here is that since there was no like a first class support for locking mechanism, we want to surface that in etcd, and then maybe like it's on Kubernetes to either pick it and then, you know, interface it as a first class locking mechanism and whatnot. But improvement here is actually what we're introducing something we haven't had before, but it was somehow vicariously being supported by using the data within etcd, right?
Yeah, you know, not really. Actually, you know, etcd, just I mentioned, etcd and Zoom Cable are very good candidates to support distributed lock.
Definitely.
Yeah, you know, but you know, from just as you mentioned, you know, Kubernetes use the resource as the lock.
Yeah, exactly.
I
And
be-
what we're saying is we're exposing a mechanism
I
to
believe the backend, the Kubernetes use resource as the lock. The backend is also depend on etcd, right?
Mhm.
So the Kubernetes just resource, the log on the resource is actually is supported by etcd. No etcd, no resource-based log in Kubernetes.
exactly.
This is my understanding.
But the Kubernetes logs, the Kubernetes leaves, they don't use the etcd log. They don't use the etcd leaves, from my understanding. I think it's just purely implemented as a Kubernetes key, like a regular key on which you do
Yeah, it's a
transactions.
regular resource.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it doesn't automatically delete someone, or like there's no etcd leaves attached to it. So someone has to come steal it, and they will do that based on
Okay.
one of the timestamp fields of expiry.
So
Okay.
yeah, no one is preventing it from like, actually taking the lock away. We actually have an interface so that, you know, acquire lock will have to go through a same path so that if the lock has already been, it will know that whether it has been acquired or not. So it's not like a first class support like Benjamin is adding. So there's a lot of ways for the lock to be under contention. So that's good. This is actually good.
Yeah, we can have more discussion offline. It's an interesting topic.
Hello, guys. I would like to use a few minutes to share. Actually, we were preparing a proposal for the KubeCon in 2025 in Paris. So it's about a 2-node etcd and 2-node Kubernetes. We're working on a project we are working on. It's the first time I prepare such proposal, so I have no experience on that. So I really appreciate if you could share some feedbacks and suggestions on that. So, yeah.
Do you mean the KubeCon CFP? For
In Paris, in
This is London.
No,
London?
no, Paris
London.
already did.
The last,
sorry.
so you proposed it last KubeCon, or are you proposing it for next KubeCon?
next
Oh, that's-
KubeCon in Europe, yeah, in next year.
Yeah, that's London. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, London. Okay. So
Do you want to share the dog or?
yeah, I put the link in the doc, and I can share it here. And if you have time, I will.
Yes. That's
Yeah. So actually, we talked about this in I think early this year in this meeting, and later we're working on some. We have make a copy of etcd and make some changes on that to implement this new protocol. And we see in this year's Europe KubeCon there's a session about the 2-nodes Kubernetes, and there's some tricky things to replace etcd by some other backend store, and we see there's some issues, especially with handling the network partition. So we implement our ideas in the etcd, so that the 2-node Kubernetes can be achieved in a compatible way as now as a official versions. So that's the I think that's the most important things benefit for the customers that they don't need to migrate the data to a new two-node Kubernetes cluster, and it has all the interface compatible with the current ones. So yeah, that's basic our idea. But I really appreciate if you have some feedbacks on that, and yeah.
Yeah, from my perspective, I would like to see a high-level picture. So what's the impact on the etcd, for example, what's the impact on the etcd server? What's the impact on the RAF? So yeah, these are the impact. I should say the second point is we should like see I see you already list some use case, right? There's some use case.
Use case. I'm not sure. There's a session, different kind of session, right? There's about I think there's special session
Yeah.
type for the use cases.
Yeah, I would actually, believe it or not, recommend submitting this twice. Once for the main track that would be very user oriented, assuming that you're ready to demo this to users, or will be by London. So write one for the main track that's very user oriented, right? This is what it is. This is how you would use it, etc. Here's the limitations and advantages. And then write another one that's very deep into the implementation of doing two-node HA etcd and therefore Kubernetes, and submit that to the Maintainer Summit when it opens up. Because Kubernetes and our folks would be interested in the implementation, the reliability testing, everything else for the Maintainer Summit potentially. But that's not a KubeCon main track presentation, if you follow me. The KubeCon main track presentation would be more user oriented. So you have two potential proposals here with different focus.
All right, thank you very much. We are out of time, but yeah, everyone, if you are interested or have any comments, please go to this doc and take a look. All right, thank
Okay.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.